welcome everyone. We are spilling tea with Roxy. Thank you, Roxy. And it is my tiny spotted mind. We are here today and we're talking all about medications, guys. To be medicated or not to be medicated? That is the question for today. And as relapse and remissive multiple sclerosis warrior, me and Roxy have gone through a lot of implications with medications. I've started out at the age of 9.5 years old on steroid medication. So I'm pumped up and juiced out, guys, and I have had enough. Okay. I want to go into what Roxy has been going through with her medications when she started and what she has privied and thought about medications and where she is now with her medical journey and her wellness journey. And, we can all relate. So, Roxy, chime in.
Wow. My journey's a long one. Obviously, as you guys know, if you previously heard anything about me, I got ill when I was 18, but I was never diagnosed with MS till I think it was the age 26. I think, but MS brain, so it could have been 24. But since then, I've been taking a lot of drugs. Obviously, the first one that we all have, I think, is steroids. Steroids is something you can't avoid with MS. Yeah. It's the first thing they hit you with. And I only learned recently that steroids affect your muscle and your muscle, like, I don't want to say clarity. What's the word I'm looking for?
Muscle memory?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how it generates muscles, it kind of deteriorates them slightly.
Let me chime in on that. So when I was 9 years old and they started giving me straight up steroids, it was to reduce the inflammation in my nervous system and the lesions in my brain. So that's how they just, balls then combated what I was going through, not knowing it was multiple sclerosis. So I did not get diagnosed till age 12, but at age 9.5, that's what they utilized. And like Roxy had just said, it kills your muscle memory. Your motor skills are shut down. If you're not aggressive, because it's a very aggressive treatment with anybody. Now picture it at 9 years old, how aggressive it can be on a prepubescent body. You know what I'm saying? But continue on. 18 years old, they hit you with the steroids.
Well, they hit steroids because for me, my first, obviously, I was blind in my right eye and I had double vision. They didn't know what was up. But obviously, as you just said, steroids are the go-to thing to try first for anything. I feel like no matter what you have, like, try some steroids. So we did steroids, and thankfully, I'm very, very grateful it brought my eyesight back. So I can see. But obviously, it was the first day of a long journey with steroids, because every time I do something with MS, whether it's a new drug I try or a symptom I have, usually steroids is the first thing they go for. I'm not entirely sure, because I'm no doctor, obviously, everyone, whether it calms your nervous system or what actually a steroid does internally to you. But I do know since I've started taking them, I can feel, as in I do exercise, that it's had a little bit of a toll. I mean, I'm not saying it's not worth it, because I don't know what would have happened if I didn't take it. I don't know what the flip side of that is. So not taking it could have been worse than taking it in the end. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But there has been some deterioration inside my body for taking it. I'm not an athlete. I'm not going hard at the gym to constantly train my muscles to give them that extra brain nervous system connection that they are constantly working and generating new cells in that aggressive way. Obviously, I have MS. It's day-to-day changes. Some days I can run around and move, and some days I can't. So I don't have that kind of work regime to build up muscles properly when taking steroids. And they're also not exactly the same type of steroid that you'd get if you was a bodybuilder.
Yeah, definitely. Coming from a 9-year-old that was a prima ballerina, I danced all my life from age 3.5 to when I was hit neurologically with the unknown, because we didn't know what it was yet, till 9.5. It morphs your body, especially you're not privy to what the result of taking steroids is in the first place. I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm a child that's a dancer. And all of a sudden I'm getting pelted with a whole bunch of steroids. And they said at the time, that's what they told me, because I too am not a licensed doctor. They told me it was to keep down the inflammation of the lesions in my brain. But they still didn't know what was wrong with me, because of course I am a female, I'm 9 years old, and I'm Black. So they really couldn't tell me at that time what was happening. They just wanted to subdue what was going on. And physically, my face had Bell's palsy, and I didn't see that. Other people around me started to, see that, and it only worsened as I was taking the steroids, and I couldn't move anymore. My cerebellum was completely gone. I couldn't dance. And that's literally where, though it did help the lesions in my brain kind of, chill out, like take a break, because they were pretty fierce. It didn't change the exact course of my diagnoses. I still have relapse and remissive multiple sclerosis. I still have intense lesions in my brain, but physically, am I well off now than I was before? Yes, amen. I never knock a drug. You can't knock it till you try it. But at the same time, I have tried so many. My body is like, sis, you got to quit it. Roxy, when you were 18 years old and they started you out with the steroids, how long did it take you till you transitioned to your next wave of drugs?
Oh, wave of drugs. See, I've had a weird journey because they didn't say that I had MS for like, if I was 18, she was probably about 8 years later. They thought I had lupus. That's what they diagnosed me with. And for me, I also had benign intracranial hypertension. So for those of you that don't know, that's the fluid in your spine rises, it generates too quickly and rises and puts pressure on your brain. So I had to take therapeutic lumbar punctures pretty much every 4 to 6 weeks for ages. And it was horrible. But they put me on a drug called acetazolamide, which is a drug that's meant to just kind of keep that under control. It didn't actually work for me because obviously, as I said, I have to keep getting lumbar punches, so it wasn't really doing anything. But my first course in drugs was based on the fact that it was my antidepressants from dealing with all the trauma at 18. Obviously, because I had to have a lot of testing, a lot of rooms. I was like in rooms of 10 to 12 neurologists at a time, using me as a test patient to try and figure out and use me to teach students. I was okay with it because I wanted answers. And I'm happy to help people learn, because I think the more people that learn, the more people have cases, especially cases of people with colour in their skin. It does help in the long run for us to have something that is actually slightly tailored towards us. So I'm all for that. But it meant that I started getting medical depression. So my drugs were more like sertraline, amitriptyline. I've had citrapam. I've been on like a lot of little drugs. I was only 4 years ago that I actually took an MS drug specifically for MS.
So since they said that you might have had lupus, that 8-year span, you were not on any medical medication except antidepressants?
Yeah, antidepressants and acetazolamide, and then warfarin, which I said to you earlier, which was basically they said that my blood was prone to clotting, and to save me from having sort of like a heart aneurysm or a brain aneurysm and having like a blood clot in there, they put me on warfarin for life to keep my blood at a certain rate. So I was just taking those kinds of things, and then obviously a gastro pill because the drugs weren't digesting in my system very well. So I take a Reprazole or Lansoprazole, I think I'm saying those right, which are just little tablets that help your digestive enzymes in your stomach digest things and relax. Because having a lot of acid reflux was making me feel really sick. So it's like a side effect from the polypharmacy, I think is what you call it, when you're taking drugs, but you're not really looking at how they interact with each other. And also I was probably taking them at really bad times during the day, probably too close together too. So my body wasn't, you know, having that time to do what it needs to do internally to support me and the taking of these drugs.
Okay, so it wasn't absorbing any of the drugs that you were taking. And 4 years ago, you just started your first MS therapy, your first DMT. That is wild. And you've been, now it's +4, it's 12 years of multiple sclerosis, and you only started your first DMT 4 years ago. That's astonishing.
14 years, I'm 32, so 14 years.
You can age yourself.
It's fine. I'm proud of being 32. I love my 30s. I think it's like the best years of my life so far. So I'm all proud for it. So yeah, like 14 years ago, but they did think I had other things. And if I look back at it, I've had my gripes and my complaints with stuff. And I've shared my story on the MS Society about how I feel I was treated as a person of colour, based on what they knew themselves as doctors and what had been reported to them. But also my symptoms for me personally were incredibly complicated.
Mm-hmm.
They were incredibly complicated. So I can see how things went awry at times, but it didn't really help me in my journey. And I suppose I've spoken up more about that because I don't want that to happen to someone else. I don't want someone else to have to go through what I went through. And I will say positively, since I've spoken to people in the UK, because I can't speak for any other country, because I know we all have different healthcare systems, people seem to be getting diagnosed quicker with MS, regardless of background, colour and family, DNA, stuff like that. But I don't know if that's also because more people are having MS in general anyways. It's on the rise. And it could be environmental at points. So, you know, the more you know, the easier it gets. Maybe I was an unfortunate person. I don't want to feel like I'm saying that other people's struggles are not a struggle because you've not got brown skin. Because I think I've met people that are white, I've met people that are Indian that have had really intense medical experiences that have MS, that have had worse interactions than I had. So it's multi-layered of why it got complicated. Definitely a factor was my skin colour because it wasn't seen to be presented in someone with my skin tone. But definitely. Also there's a lot of things to do with just also my depression and how I was what I want people to know, like how I was kind of talking about my own illness. Like I wasn't noting things down. I wasn't journaling my symptoms. I wasn't really keeping track of those things that if I think about now as an adult, probably could have helped get what I was dealing with, and then allowing the doctors to then maybe give me a better diagnosis because they only know what I'm saying to them. And because I'm dealing with MS, I'm forgetting everything. I'm dealing with trauma and not remembering. And I'm not getting that across properly. And I think we don't always talk about that as people that deal with illnesses. But I think we do have a responsibility too for our self-care. You know? I know you know, because I know you.
I wish I knew. I wish when I was little I knew. I wish I had a sense of...
Well, you were 9, so come on. That's like impossible. But I was 18, so I had...
but at the same time, I try to rectify or give justification of why don't I have everything, all my history of my medical. And at a certain point in time, you have to look at your age, how you feel about your diagnosis, and how you're coping with it. And if you're not ready to face the demon head on, you want nothing to do with the demon, and you're going to try to escape it at any means necessary. You're going to run from it. You're going to run from it. You know what I'm saying? So at the age of 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to be like, hey, this is it. This is what happened. This is what I'm going to deal with, and this is how I'm going to deal with it. I was more like, listen, you know, I got bills to pay. I want a car. I want this. I want that. It's a whole bunch of wants and no
I want a party.
I want a pony. I want to move out of my parents' house. I want to be free. Not, I want to take care of me. I want the best for me. You know, right now I don't have any bills. I don't have any big matters to worry about. Once I live out my youth, taking care of myself and getting myself together, I should have been documenting, but I wasn't documenting because I wasn't worried. Where MS was worried about me, I wasn't worried about MS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Trying to escape it, where it was in my face every day, going to school, riding the bus with me every day. So dealing with DMTs for 9, 10 for all of my life, that is for all of my life. I've been on 5 of them. And
5. Wow.
yeah. So that also brings me to the change in medications. You know, your body going to the influx of hormones, the influx of you don't even know what the hell are in these medications for the most part, but the influx of all these things happening while you're
Yeah.
taking different medications and different steroids and different corticosteroids and all these things that are killing these cells and modifying these cells and changing those cells, you know, how is it interrupting you as an individual? How is it stagnating your growth, your mental health, your emotional health, you know, your physical health? And you're growing as a human being. You're growing as a, I was growing as a child to a tween to a teen to, you know, a young lady to a grown ass adult, you know, and having all these different therapies, it blows the shit out of you. It hurts you and it pains you. It does, for sure. Because you go through withdrawal and you don't even understand what's happening to your body during this withdrawal. You think it's another MS relapse, but it maybe it's the change of medication. Maybe it's the change in the temperature. You don't know because there's so many variables. There's so many different things that have to deal with, like you keep saying, environment. When I was a child, my mother tried to get rid of me a lot. So she sent me a foreign with my grandmother to Haiti. And I would spend a year, 2 years at a time, just enjoying, be basking in sun and things like that. And then I come back as a 3.5, 4 years old, you know, every other, when I have school and things like that, and I'm in the cold all of a sudden. So my environment is drastically changing.
Yeah.
It had been said that the change, if you're born or your parents are born in the Caribbean, and then you have a change in environment and your second generation of, well, you could say first generation of wherever you're living now. So it was the UK and it would be the United States of America for me. You're more privy to get multiple sclerosis because of the just in your environment. So there's so many variables when it comes down to MS. And I think that the DMTs only enhances the everything else, the variables around it, of course. It just enhances everything. It just magnifies multiple sclerosis. But if it wasn't for some of these DMTs, I don't think my life would be sustainable to the point where I am at 2020 right now.
Yeah.
I can't knock one. I just want better. That's really what I want. I want better. I want, because we could what DMT, what was your last DMT you were on? Let me ask that.
The one that I've just got off is Ocrevus. I've only ever been on 2. The first one I took was Tysabri. But I had a big break between the 2 of those. So I took Tysabri. I took, I think it's 3 infusions I got. So it was 3 months of infusions. The first infusion, I felt nothing. Obviously I had my own trauma dealing with having to go back to hospital and dealing with that kind of stuff. But the actual drug itself, I didn't really feel anything. I felt nothing. And then the second time, as the infusion was going in the hospital, I started getting burns on my arms. And when I got home, burns.
I did see that in your episodes, and I saw
Yeah.
that.
And it was not nice. I started feeling a bit off. But we was like, okay, maybe it's not this, because it's not really a side effect that people have ever reported on burning. Like, and that obviously, I will say all these Tysabri and Ocrevus, they come with a course of steroids on the side. So you get steroids regardless if you want them or not. You always get steroids as well. And then the third time it continues. So they was like, look, we'll just take you off it. And because it was my first and I was kind of trying to be hopeful, I think I had like a bit of an emotional reaction to that. So what I did was I decided to start researching. I think that's when I started going, no, you need to look into the drugs you're taking, because that was weird. I didn't feel normal. I didn't like it. So for those 2 years, I just kind of worked for myself. I started exercising and changing my life a bit because I was not treating myself well anyways. So that's a whole other conversation. And then after the 2 years, and I felt actually pretty good, they were like to me, you need to take another drug for your older self, because yes, you're in a good place now, but your disease will keep progressing. You want to put something medical wise that will not cure it, but maybe halt it in its current position. So I went with Ocrevus, as we've spoken before. And I started my Ocrevus at the start of COVID, well, the end of last year. And then the second dose, because you get 2 half doses first, was at the start of this year. Then COVID happened, which meant that not only was I taking this new drug, but this new drug kills your B cells. So I'm literally immune compromised. Like, I'm literally high risk category. So I'm now having to isolate. I'm now having to consider whether I'm taking the drug again and how that's going to affect me as a human. The delay was, it's meant to be every 6 months. I think it was 9 months is when I was offered my next infusion. But I started feeling really off as a person, a bit weird. I don't know if it was mental health or physical health. I just felt not like me. So I kind of discussed it with them. And I also was like, I don't really know what I want to do in my life either. And I don't know if this drug is helping or hindering that for me right now. So what are my options? I'm having weird side effects. What I think are side effects, because obviously I'm not a doctor, I don't have the proof, but I'm experiencing things I've never experienced before. And I'm kind of conversing with the doctors on that. And they said, fine, we'll hold it. They gave me the blood tests. I recently just got an MRI. Thankfully for me, the MRI is clear. The blood test came back normal. So obviously Ocrevus was working, but I think it was more that my body was going through such an intense drug because it's so strong that it couldn't understand what was going on. So my immune system was compromised, but it was also extra, it's not a word. It was trying to fight extra hard to battle what it was dealing with, because it's red light system going off. It's going, like, what's going on? We can't protect you. And that has its own mental health issues, because right now I'm trying to learn about the brain and the stomach and the bacteria and stuff like that. But if you're killing B cells and things that fight your immune system, you're changing your internal system slightly, and then your body has to readjust to that. And I don't think mine was doing very well at doing that. Other people love the drug and other people are having amazing times with it, and I'm not against it, and I'm not like I would never go back on it, because in actuality, when it came back to results, it wasn't doing anything bad. But how I felt wasn't, I don't know if it's not the right time for me, or maybe I'm not in the right place. Maybe I've got some more internal spiritual work to do or something, so that I'm in the right place. But, and obviously with COVID, maybe that stress, it's really hard to understand why I feel like this, because COVID's stressing everyone out so much. Is it like a trigger? Is it a environmental trigger? I'm not going out as much, am I? I live in London, so it's like right now it's freezing cold, like double socks, all the clothes you can put on you want to do, heating's on already, like it basically feels like Christmas here already. So many factors, but I just want to say, like, I didn't look at how I'd be affected transitioning off drugs. I didn't look at how you see the side effects when you're on the drug. You kind of go, okay, headache, feel sick. If I get a rash, call someone, that kind of thing. But if I come off the drug, I've never really considered what that means for me mentally, physically, and my body. Like, how's my body going to react to then all my T cells regrowing really quickly?
they never explain that to you. No matter what drug you're on, they never explain what it is to come off the drug. They always tell you the symptoms that you might get on the drug,
Yeah.
or how you feel, or if you're having a fever, let me know. We'll stop the medication. I have had, maybe it was MS. We really, like, people be like, you say you have multiple sclerosis, but all these things are happening to you. Like, is it because you're taking a drug, or is it just the MS? And I'm like, I really don't know anymore. I
I'm
don't
trying to figure this out.
I'm trying to figure it out too. And that's where I try to put my fears and my anxiety in the hands of somebody who didn't know either, and that's doctors.
Yeah.
Because they only know as much as what we're telling them. That's why they keep giving us questionnaires and asking us questions, and that's why we have clinical trials and things like that, because they don't know. And especially with people of color, women of color, men of color that have multiple sclerosis, they don't know even more so than they know for a Caucasian person. They know less for a Caucasian person, and they're trying DMTs on white people, and they don't have enough Black people to fill out these clinical trials and to, kind of step and be like, I have MS, I'm going to take this drug, I'm going to be a lab rat for this drug. And,
medical trauma, though. Medical trauma for us.
Yeah, that's a battle that I've gone through myself, having multiple sclerosis for so long. It's like, Diana, if you do this, and you test this drug out, you'll help another person. But it's like, how much am I going to give my body up to medicine? Because I've done it since I was 9 years old.
Yeah,
I've been poked and probed and all that. It's like, if you cannot make me freaking superhuman and shoot lightning out my eye socket and cure the whole world, I don't want no parts of it. Because I've been doing it for so damn long. I think somebody else needs to either step up, or we need to group together to freaking understand, individually what has, as Black people, now I'm saying as people of color, that all who have taken medicines come together as people, and we sit down and literally play chess and be like, well, I took this medication, this is all that happened to me during this medication, and this one I'm pretty sure was this medication, but I'm not sure, so let's leave it in the gray area. I took this medication and this is all that happened to me. And if we could sort it out amongst each other, maybe we could have more of a clarity of how it affects us, those of minority and people of color, brown skin, dark skin, blue skin, everyone else except Caucasians, because they're the majority of the clinical trials. We know what happens to them.
But then you've got to remember that they don't test on males that much. So although, yes, Caucasians, as you say, there are males that are Caucasian that they're not always included. So there's a whole male narrative regardless of colour that's not considered. And obviously, male DNA.
Not even in this conversation, unfortunately, but I met a lot of men, Black, white, Spanish, Indian, all over this globe, that also have relapsed remitting multiple sclerosis or secondary progressive MS, and they, they're left out. Either they're left out, or they're only given 2 medications to choose from, and that's it.
That is a conversation. You don't get given all the drugs to choose from.
Exactly.
You get a few to select from. If there's 10, you might get 3 options, because it depends on you as an individual as well, what they decide you can have. We could go in one after another. They may say 3 drugs to me, 3 drugs to you, come out with speak, and we'll be like, well, I didn't get that as an option. But there's obviously some reasoning behind it that maybe we don't know. But I also want to say that I think we have a lot of light work to do as people of colour for the trauma, because we need to feel safe enough to want to partake, but we also do need to partake, because how are we ever going to change it? So it's like it's a really double-edged sword in that sense, because we all have trauma. I have trauma. Anyone has trauma from medical stuff, regardless of colour, prodding, poking, pulling around. There's a lot of people from childhood that obviously have realised I have MS and stuff like that, and you're dealing with years and years of sleeping alone in a room, that kind of stuff. do you then after that want to go and be prodded and poked again? Possibly not. Even speaking about it makes me go a bit weird.
Yeah, cringe. It makes me cringe too.
But I need to deal with it, and that's what I'm trying to do now, is deal with that connection, that kind of memory, that kind of trauma connection I have with it, so that I can loosen myself up, try to partake in things, regardless of the companies, to try and change it for the kid or the guy or the person after me, because I think it's about a community thing. I think regardless of colour, we can all help each other, but I also feel like as people of colour, we need to be more open about what we deal with. Have you heard of a page on Instagram called the Black MS Society?
Yes, I have.
So they just recently formed, and they're trying to do exactly that. They're trying to get stories of people of colour to talk to each other and connect, so they can share stories, so that we can help each other, and then hopefully help the people that probably do have the money and the resources to create change, give them that data, so that we can start changing that narrative. Because it's all good doing it between us, but if we've not got the funding, if we're not going to go for the funding, and we're not going to hand over the information, then it's just us talking. So there's like this, it's such a big picture.
We're chasing our tails the whole time. That's what we're doing. We're just chasing our tail. Hey, what you got? 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 Like, it's sharing our stories. Yes, it lifts our spirits up and gives us crazy support, and it boosts our morale for sure. But just having a narrative and not being able to implement anything after it is kind of empty. It makes the whatever hope that we have built, it starts to dwindle away again, because it leaves you kind of empty. You know what I'm saying? And I've been out here for about being an activist for about 6 years of my life. And have I seen change? Yeah, I see change. I've seen people standing up. I see women and men rising. I've seen voices amplified in my community. But I want to see change in medicine. And that's a big thing, especially for people of colors, because we have been ostracized, confused, used, we have been made into experiments almost, because they think that we are privy to take things more. We have to be strong, because this is what the world has made us. The world literally, and I say this for what I've been through in all my life, the world has made our skin like Teflon. But at one point or another, it's gonna break. Because being people with MS, we're fragile as hell. But we're optimistic as all. And we have to keep fighting. And the only way to keep fighting is sharing our stories.
Yeah, I think we're like empathetic empaths. We kind of take on emotions and feelings quite strongly, as you can probably tell, because we literally manifest it to the point of where we're having physical feelings from the emotions and stuff we take in. So absolutely. But that's why I said, like, I think there's a lot of light work to do amongst us. Like, I've got a few groups with people of colour, and they always go to me, I've never met someone else that looks like me, that has MS. But mainly what they realise is not because people they don't talk about it. They don't know, accept it. And that's the case for anyone with MS, let alone people with brown skin tones. So I think, yes, there's a lot of medical work to do. And yes, there's a very strong reason to be angry, but there's also a lot of things we can do ourselves. And reading is one of them. Eating correctly. Like, I speak to people all the time, and I've smoked for ages. From 18, I was like, I'm going to smoke cigarettes, I don't care, angsting, trying to think I know everything. And I've not smoked for nearly 2 years now, and it's the best thing I've ever done in my life. Like, do not smoke nicotine. Don't do it. Don't act like you know.
I'm so proud of you. Look at you, kicking ass.
eating better. You've done the same thing, ate better. You realise, like, I eat terrible. I need to eat better. I need to treat myself better. Because when you treat yourself better, you start realising, even in the medical system, you start getting treated better because you're in a better place to advocate for yourself. And you're like, well, hold no, I know now. I've read this book. I've ate this food. I've seen the change in myself. So let me tell you something. Let me give you the tea.
Let me let me tell you. I remember I went into one of my previous doctor's appointments, and this is the point where I moved to California. I've been bi-coastal with my neurologist for a while, and I love my medical team. They've been overseeing me since I was 9 years old. I am so blessed to have such great professionals in my life. But at one point or another, you got to be like, you got to take the reins, because you're not a little girl no more. I'm not 9 years old. And like Roxy said, reading is freaking fundamental. And you start noticing, like, you know what? I stopped taking medications because I saw the list of the side effects that I could be privy to, or the ways I can be hindered to change the lifestyle that I have built for myself today. And it would absolutely blow me out the water if I would have to stop living and being a fully functional human being. What's the point?
But also, I've seen some hope people that get to that point, and when they do make the changes that you're talking about, they somehow reverse the things you're saying, not being able to walk or not feeling they can do what they could do, whether that's feeding themselves or even just mental clarity. So we're saying 100% hand on heart agree with, like, but I can see the opposite side when you implement the changes of, like, how you can, what's the word I'm looking for?
The change that I decided for me when I wanted to change was after the fact that it took a while. The first thing that triggered a change inside of me was, you guys are gonna get weirded out. One day, I was very in my feelings, very depressed, and I woke up with literally food in my mouth that was not fully chewed yet. I think I told you this once, Roxy. It wasn't fully chewed yet, and I woke up with food in my mouth. Another time is that I heard myself breathing while I was half asleep. And I'm like, well, for a person that was raised to love herself so much, I shouldn't have to feel like I need to feed my emotions, rather than I should be feeding myself for my health. So little by little, I started changing things, and I started reading stuff. I started reading about red meat. I started reading about pork. These are major things and consumptions that my people of my ethnicity and my culture do eat. We eat heavy red meats, we eat porks and stuff like that. We eat heavy starches. And I started changing the way I saw food, because it started being that my depression was consuming me. I started feeding my depression. And as I'm gaining weight and I'm taking steroids and gaining more weight, it was just like this tornado that was happening to me in my life. And then all my relationships around me were freaking toxic as hell. Everybody was toxic in my life. And the people that actually loved me started kind of moving away from me and started deriving from me. And, they felt as different.
You became an environment. That's what happened. You start becoming what you're surrounded. You attract what you are. Like, that's just the end of, dotted line. You are what you eat, I agree with. And not in terms of weight gain, but internal manifestation.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Body. I eat donuts all the time. I'm not like you're on a plant-based diet, right?
Yeah.
I've done a plant-based diet and it didn't work for me. I'd been on and off vegan for years. But every time I did it, I'd become anemic. And I'd done vegan, that didn't work. I'd done vegan with all the bite in the shop stuff. That's like the worst thing. And then I'd done the whole plant-based, plants-only thing, which was best. But I kept becoming anemic. So I, like you said, obviously I've got Bayesian heritage, Irish heritage, heavy on the carbs. really and truly heavy on the portions was the biggest thing. Like, your plate doesn't need to be that full. But that's why I'm like, oh, do you want seconds?
Your stomach's only this big. How much do you really have to eat, right?
But your plate's like that big, and they're going, do you want more, Diana? Here's some more. Don't waste the food. We want to feed you, because food became love in some places, you know? But it was that. I still eat meat. I still eat quite a bit of meat. I eat meat almost daily, but it's such a small portion. It's not these things. You can't eat all certain things. So like, you eat meat and vegetables, you don't eat meat and carbs.
Yeah.
Simple changes, because it doesn't digest properly.
No, it doesn't. And
then your body starts going into disarray, and then it starts kind of like working too hard. Then your immune system gets triggered by it. So there's all these things that happen.
That goes back to your gut. That's learning about your gut again. You have to know what works for your gut, what makes your gut happy, because your gut, believe it or not, carries a smile. When it's not heavy acidically, when it's not, full of a whole bunch of toxin, your gut carries a smile that also manifests in your mind. And that's a whole logical thing that, what's down
my favorite subject, brain gut connection. Like, I love that.
And to me, when I learned that, and of course it's all about opening a book, it's all being open-minded, it's all wanting to hear other people's story. And when you start learning things about that, you're like, you have that aha moment. Maybe that's why that medication didn't work for me at this time in my life. Maybe I had to switch up what I was eating.
Drinking alcohol, those things.
Yeah, you start putting things together, and stuff actually starts clicking and synapsing and stuff like that. And you're like, all right, maybe I can try this again. Maybe because I'm on this different diet, maybe it'll relate to me more. You see, Roxy stopped her Ocrevus, and they were my doctor. I was on Tysabri for about I want to say 5.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, my PML level for the, what is it called? I forgot what's the acronym. But
I don't know what the acronym is either.
It's a brain disease that you can get from taking that medication for such a long time. What happened is that I didn't know that the other 4 medications I took before that also were at risk for PML as well. That's why I stopped taking Tysabri, and also the length of time I was on Tysabri. And then when they told me to go on Ocrevus, and they told me how large of a dosage, and then COVID hit at the same time, I was like, God is saying, not right now. Nothing is adding up. Nothing is making sense. And that's why.
Are you JC virus positive?
No, I was going up though. I was getting. You had said that in one of your not posts, but one of your YouTube videos that you were close to. That's scary as hell. And you are one strong mother, because I don't know, like, JCV virus is a virus that can destroy your whole life. You know what I'm saying? And I know somebody that had actually passed away from it. And it doesn't necessarily kills you, it declines you. It makes, you decline more rapidly. But what does kill you is JCV and PML. Okay, that's something that they put. That's the fear that you don't want to entangle. And how the heck did you deal with that? Because that's crazy.
It was 2 evils. I can't remember what the other drug was, but it was the side effect from the other drug. They offered me. I'm trying to think of the other drug, but I can't think of it. You had to. The side effect would have been, if it went bad, I'd have to clean my blood. So I'd constantly, I don't know what you call it when you clean your blood.
Is it, hold on, I'm thinking of it, blood transfusion.
Yes, continuously. Black people are at risk of this anyways. So it's like my kidneys and my liver could have been affected, and I'd have to clean my blood just to keep them going. And I was like, no, I hate needles. I can't. That just sounds like the worst case. And then they were like, well, there's Tysabri, but we have to use tests. And they came back and was like, your JC virus positive, but it's very low. We'll keep an eye on it. So I was like, okay, cool. I thought about it for a while, and then I was like, you know what? I'd rather take that risk than the risk of cleaning my blood. That was just all it was. It was what I could physically and mentally deal with at that time. It did go up in 3 months, I will say that, but it was like by 0.3. So it wasn't too much, but like if I would have taken it for 5.5 years like you, we could be having a different conversation. But I don't think it would have ever been that long, because I don't think I
started getting freaked out. I was like, well, people, like, I'm reading the pamphlet, because they always give you a pamphlet. So I'm reading the pamphlet. Usually people on Tycebra on the drug for about 3 to 4 years. And I'm like, well, this is 5.5. And I might have to take a leave of absence right now from all types of drugs, because it gets to the point where you really don't know what's the next step. And I'm waiting for a better step. That's better step. I don't want to have to, every time I want to take a drug, I'm reading a pamphlet this big of side effects. Which one might I have today? Is it MS or is it more side of, like, it's one of those things that I'm not willing to do no more. I'm not willing to, I can't, that brunt, I'm not putting on my shoulders at the age of 30 something, because I'm going to stay at 30 something for a long time. But at the age of 30 something, I don't want to have to face, I don't want to face a fact that I didn't have to deal with in the first place. I don't want a new side effect that I'm not currently tackling. There's so much at stake for me at this point in my life. I need better. I think we all deserve better. And how we're going to get there is by, I feel, sharing our story, joining these groups, and facilitating some type of ways. Guys, I'm waiting for the lottery to hit, guys. I'm waiting for the lottery to hit. But to facilitate something, to come to the conclusion that for us, people of minority, Spanish, Asian, Black, this might be our best option. I need something better than what we have. I actually had some statistics. There's about 13 different FDA approved drugs on the market as of right now. My doctor at the time told me, listen, and I never knock my doctors. I told you this is my team since I was a little girl. Well, she diagnosed me at 12. She's the one that actually diagnosed me at 12. So they've been following my journey since 12. From 9 to 12, I had no neurologist. I was just like YOLO everywhere. But they told me about 6 different medications that, like, pick your poison. And it's not what I want to hear. I don't want, listen, I love options, but when it comes to my health, I need certainty, as close to certain. And the least, I know there's always going to be a side effect. There's a side effect for everything. Like I spoke to Roxy before, you take too much of anything, it's no good for you. Too much water, you're going to drown your organs. That's simple to me. Too much weed, you're going to freaking be in quarantine for the rest of your life. You're be so freaking spooked out of everything. But we need and we deserve, as people of color, better options. And people as warriors, the multiple sclerosis communities deserve better options. And for those who are willing, just like people are willing to risk their life to take medications for COVID-19 that have not been FDA approved, please step forward and make your voices heard. Because for me, myself, and I am tired. Okay, I am tired. 5 medications later, the next time I would have my name next to a medication signed up is when they either get better or I am old and gray. And I'll donate my body to medicine because I can't do it no more. After that, 13 medications. How do you feel about what's on the market today for us?
I find it more promising, but at the same time, they're also early in the testing. They've been doing amazing things for people, especially people in secondary progressive MS, not just relapse and remitting. So for those people, because I know people in so many different stages and we're all different. And for people, they've allowed them to walk again. So I'm never going to talk against something that's given someone a little bit of hope. I just want people, when you do that, to implement other steps in your life so that you may at some point, if you want to, be able to transition off the drug and keep yourself healthy. I also believe in the baseline. I think for me and for yourself, you've taken drugs for so long, and you had so much going on from such a young age, you forget what your baseline is as well. You don't know how you normally function anymore because you're just full of other drugs. So I think a cleanse once in a while is good, just to find out where you function at a baseline. But for the drugs, I don't know. I think they've been doing some great things for some people. For me right now, I'm not sure I'm ready for it. I'm going to give myself some more time. Like I said about being a baseline person, I just want to know when I'm functioning on, what my symptoms are. I'm realizing I've got a mild headache. That's what I deal with.
You were saying something about how the back of your head, it was like burning. You had a burning sensation, a burning migraine. Tell me more about that.
Like a hot heat. It kind of runs up and down my neck, and it goes quite intense. I get that a lot with MS and hair. Like, I can't control my body temperature with MS. Like, obviously when my lesions sit, they sit in a part of my brain which controls my body temperature. So I think that as well, when I get a headache, it just heats up that part of my body quite intensely, and that is slightly frustrating because it causes fatigue. I don't know if everyone can see I keep yawning, but it's not because anything's going on. It's just fatigue creeps in. I'm talking, I'm like, I can't see. It's like, is she bored? I'm like, not bored. I just deal with fatigue. I'm like yawning as soon as I wake up. Like, I could have had 10 hours sleep and I'm still up. Like, when I wake up, it's just, a lot. And oh god, I've lost my train of thought there. What's it?
You're fine. You were talking about your fatigue and the heat radiating.
Cognitive function, as you can tell. That all just, it's mainly in my brain, and for me in my spine I've got a lot of lesions. So my left side of my body, I do a lot of yoga, is really numb. I can't move it that well. It drags behind me, and sometimes, I don't know if you get it, you're walking normally, and then all of a sudden one side of your body's not coming. You're like, hello. I've talked to myself now and I go, come on, we're going for a walk, left leg, we're going for a walk. Like, I have to tell it.
That was me when I was younger. Because I was wheelchair bound off and on when I was younger, and I would have to walk to the bus stop every morning, and I'm like talking to my right side of my body, like, bro, we've got to make it to school today. Like, we got to get there.
I need to be social.
Right? I need to get to class. I need to get a grade this time. I don't even know how I made it through high school, but God knows. So you have most of your lesions on the left side of your brain and on your spine as well, right?
Yeah, my front central cortex and my, it begins with an L. That's right at the back. There, my reasoning and my temperature controls, and sometimes my speech, as you can tell when I say stuff, sometimes it comes out a bit like slurred and a bit off. It's something I've only noticed though again since stopping Ocrevus. It's like before I took it, I had it. Then I took it and I felt none of this. Then I came off of it and now I feel this again. It's not a bad feeling. I'm okay with it. I've felt worse. This is pretty good. But it's there. I can't move my left side of my body as much. It's not strong. I try and do planks. I try and do stuff, but sometimes it doesn't come. It just doesn't go with me, and that is scary. And sometimes that is what my baseline decisions become when it comes to drugs and stuff, because exercise and good food 50-50 will reverse it. It's done it for some people, but they still have other effects. So yes, some people have got out of bed and walked, but doesn't mean they still don't feel MS symptoms. This is just where my lesions sit. I can't change that.
I just want to tell everybody, rectify, since I post a lot of my, living well and my health and wellness. I have a shitload of lesions in my brain. Do they affect me in my everyday? Not so much more than I care to clarify. So in hindsight, they affect me in ways that I'm so used to it that it doesn't, the pain, if I'm not in pain, I'm probably dead. It's one of those things. Like, it's like one of those things. If everything is not radiating in pain in my body, and that's why I'm adamant about getting up and going for a run, a walk, or lifting a weight or something like that. Because if I sit there, like I'm sitting here for whatever, half an hour, my body starts doing this thing where it starts cramping, but it does it really slowly. So when I get back up, it's like you're unraveling shrapnel. Like you're trying to unravel shrapnel or aluminum foil and getting all the crinkles out. And that's how my body literally feels every day. So I do it every day because my body's like, well, if you're not going to do it, we're going to mess with you anyway, and you're going to hurt even more. So it's no win-win for me. The only thing that I guess I is my accolade is that I feel lighter. I am losing weight. I feel more malleable. I can't say that. I gotta say I'm more agile. I'm more limber. That's a good thing. But as for the pain, every joint in my body hurts. My hands hurt. How?
I get that in the cold. My hands like literally joints blow up, and I can't. They go red, and I can't.
Roxy, I live in Southern California. It's pretty nice outside every day, all day. But my extremities will feel like it's Arctic tundra, and it's 80 degrees outside.
Oh.
Like it's so weird. Even my nose will start like my nose would be like frigid and cold, and there's no really, I don't know. The whole thing with temperature control again, no matter how much you try to control your temperature, your body says, listen, we're going to do our own thing, okay? We want it sub-zero right now, or we want it extremely hot, we want to irritate you. And that's just I don't think it's just medication that can help with that. I think it's something that we have to deal with for the rest of our life until we have a literal like antidote for whatever is happening to our bodies. I don't even know what it is anymore. We're between a rock and a hard place with multiple sclerosis, especially for women of color, for the whole humanity, for the what is it, 4 now? 2.4 million of us. Like, and the numbers keep rising and rising and rising every day. And it's one of those things. I hope that, in hindsight, one day we can band together and really combat this thing, because it's going to just keep rising. We have children that are being diagnosed at the age of 4 or 5 years old. There's no reason why a child should not know what they're up against, and their parents know what they're up against. At really young ages, it's crazy that to diagnose a child, and then on top of that, you're diagnosing a child with multiple sclerosis, and are you really sure? It's one of those things. Are you sure?
Well, like you said, environmental, what you're feeding that child, what that child's environment is, where they live, all these things come into consideration. And that's why I think, like we're talking right now, talking to people in general, as I've been even doing my own podcast, I'm finding so much out, and then realizing there's a lot of links here, just with how people grew up that have MS. There's a lot of trauma in those people sometimes, and I'm starting to understand there's something else there that's probably, I don't know, psychological as well as physical and emotional, that comes from people that
there's some type of something that has triggered people having multiple sclerosis, and especially from the time of when Jean Coir, he's gonna roll over his
Charcot.
Yes.
Charcot. That's how you say it. The founder of MS, right?
Yeah, when he first started looking at the attributes of the looking at the brain and seeing where these lesions were coming from, he didn't even get to the spine yet. He was still just dealing at the brain. He didn't even go through the rest of the biological anatomy of the human body, and he was dealing with women. You know what I mean? I feel like there is so much to be you know, so much of a canvas we haven't rolled out and looked out yet. And I think it's within us, it's within our within humanity that a lot of our answers lie. And we could drag this out all day, but you know, we have a lot of work to do individually, you know, with our triggers and knowing where g our how can I say genome came from, where we came from, our ancestries have came from. Because I'm the first person in my family to ever be diagnosed with anything, any neuroses at all.
Neuroses. Oof. Most of my family have like a history of cancer. I do think some have had some sort of dementia at some point, maybe undiagnosed. But that's the thing about having Black heritage, that they don't always go to the doctor anyway. So it's all based on what we believe and not necessarily what is actually the case. Because my family was like, even on my Irish side of my family, I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
So I don't know. You could have all the neurological problems. You could have mental health issues, but from the generation I'm talking about, they ain't going to the doctor to get that diagnosed. So I'm basically working blind because people before didn't take care of themselves. If I'm gonna be honest, they didn't. They didn't eat right. They didn't take care of themselves, and now there's no history to go from other than a bit of
No.
lung issues and some basic breast cancer, which every family has. So you've got breast cancer, you've got this, you kind of go, okay, most families have that somewhere. But what about this? And then I don't know, I just think people talk about mental health and neurological effects that often anyway. So
Mental health, especially in the Black community, is something that is definitely not looked at. They feel as though that you should repair your shit yourself. In hindsight, like literally, you should. If you have problems, you should fix it yourself, and that's not always the case for
I
everyone.
disagree with that. Like, I don't think that's a good coping mechanism. I think therapy for anyone, someone to just listen to you talk, I don't care who it is. And sometimes it can't be the person that loves you. It can't be your partner. It can't be a family member. Because you're getting that, I believe, okay, that I'm not going to ask a butcher how to be a fishmonger. I'm not going to ask a footballer how to get to space. You're not the person with the information. I don't ask your friends what they think about things they don't do, because their opinion is invalid. Go and find someone that does it. If I want to be a journalist, I'm asking a journalist. I want to be an astronaut, going to an astronaut. Do not get mental health advice from your best friend or from a family member that's not qualified to give it to you, because they're giving you an opinion and it's not a very informed one. It's how they personally feel about something they've dealt with or not dealt with, and how they already have their prejudice or their own personal trauma. You've got different stories, you've got different paths, you're different people. Just remember that. Like, I'm talking to you now, Diana's talking to you now, we're talking about MS, but your story is your own. Your book is your own. You have a different front cover, different pages to fill. We're only speaking about it, but your decisions are yours to make. We're talking as MS warriors, but doesn't make us actual geniuses on the subject. We can only talk from our experiences. So if you're looking for a certain thing, find the right person. I'm not a neurologist. I can tell you how I've been affected, but I cannot categorically give you fact after fact. I did not study 4 to 8 years of any of these subjects. I've had 4 to 8 years of side effects and issues, but nothing consistent enough. I've not put enough hours in purposefully to say I have the answers. So when you ask someone else or you talk to someone else, you hear people talk about things, you need to really think about, are they qualified to have this opinion? And 9 times out of 10, they are not.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head. If you want to know something, you go to the person that is qualified at your expertise that you need to get the help that you deserve, that you need in your life, because no one knows your trials, your hurt, your pain but you. And no friend, no family member, no doctor could fix you to the point where you're warranted exactly what you deserve. You need to find the help that you need. And as back forward, we're going back to the medications. I remember when I had MS, I was going through my depression. When I had, I wish it went away, but had, please leave me. I was going through my depression with multiple sclerosis and just like life around me. I was given medication and I showed the medication to my mom, and my mom was like, what is this for? You're already taking medication for multiple sclerosis. Which at that point I was like already over medication for multiple sclerosis. I wanted to have what was up here fixed because there was so many things going on up here that I couldn't really figure out. I couldn't unravel my thoughts. I couldn't unravel school. I couldn't understand concept of relationship, friendships. I couldn't my parents, I just couldn't unravel certain things. And the only way I could unravel it, and I promise you guys, you think that maybe this I'm a little loopy, was literally meditation and prayer.
No, meditation's amazing. It's like one of the best things you can do.
When I tell you everything, every link started unraveling itself and things started moving and lights started flickering and things started enhancing in my life. And by the time I started college, I was about 17 years old, 17 and a half years old, because I was a little bit early when I finished school. I started college. I ended up dropping out of college because my mother didn't want me to dorm on campus because I'm on campus taking corticosteroids and infusion shots by myself. And I look like a druggie, obviously. So that's a whole other trauma I had to unravel by myself. And then my mom's like, you know what, take off the whole year, not the semester, take off the whole year, and made me go to community college. That was another trauma. You don't understand the things that are going through. You're just going through these motions and they keep pounding at you over and over again. And finally, I graduated college. I'm like, finally, I graduated college 5.5 years later, for God's sakes. I finally have my bachelor's degree. Now I need a job. And you can't find a job having a whole, it's hard to find a job when you have neuroses and you're taking medications and you're trying not to fall asleep at work and you're trying to keep up with everybody else. That's something else that you gotta, and the only way I was able to understand my rhythm and how everything was going to work for me is through meditation. I had to cleanse, literally, I had to cleanse my soul. Like, I had to cleanse my soul because there was so much shrapnel and shit just stuck in my mind from the
Let it out.
I had to
Release the energy.
I had to let all of it go. I had to let it
Give
all.
yourself time. Meditation, just giving yourself time to feel yourself, feel what's internally wrong, because you can get monkey chatter and you can think and think and think in loops, but until you stop and just let it settle like you did,
you have to get in tune. You have to get in tune with yourself. If you're not in tune on, if your mind is on a different wavelength than your heart, and then your stomach is on a different wavelength than your mind, and nothing is in balance all the way down, then your loins are a whole different wavelength by itself. Like, not in tune. Everything is supposed to be, people think that people are just wicked and have chakras. Chakras are real and they have to be in line. They have to be in line all the way down. Your stomach has to be in line with your head and your mouth and your nose. Everything has to be all the way down. And when you finally get those things in tune, you're going to see how everything flushes out better. You'll understand your diagnosis a bit more. You'll understand what you want to do, what you need your doctor to do for you, not what your doctors want to do, they can do for you. Oh, I need you to do this. This is your job.
Serve me.
My job is to help me be the best me that I could possibly be. And if I don't want to take this medication, steer me to somebody else that's going to help me. Or give me
a second opinion as well. Like, take it if you want it.
To tell you about. So since I have moved to California and I've been with this doctor since I was a young girl, I'm finally, applaud me. Opinion. I'm a big girl now. I can do that. You're never stuck anywhere. You have one thing and one thing only, this one life at this one time to take care of, and take the best care of yourself, no matter what medication you choose to, no matter what DMT you choose to use, do your research, and make sure you get other opinions. Because in the long haul, you know, like Roxanne said before, you were worried about, they told you to worry about the future, Roxy. They weren't worried about who you were today at that point, but that's who you started to worry about, how you feel today at this point. And you chose what was best for Roxanne. And again, I tap my hat to you. Kudos to you. You did the best ever.
Just claps all around.
For sure, you just have to take that time and align yourself and align your purpose and figure out what's the best thing for you and how are you going to haul ass in this one life that you live to make sure you live a fully functionally life.
The best you can for you, because, you know,
it's not easy for anybody. And like I told you, I got a whole bunch of lesions up here swerving, and I can't wait to get a second opinion to understand why am I able to carry myself the way that I carry myself, but there's a lot of stuff happening.
You can shrink lesions by lifestyle. Like, they're never going to disappear, but you can how you treat yourself.
They multiplied.
They can be more.
They're dancing. They're dancing up there.
I'll get smaller. Have they never gone? Oh, that's shrunk.
Some of them did shrink, but there's some in the, what was it again? I would have to read my thing, but there's some that have actually enhanced or show. Let me be medically say it. They have shown enhancement.
Yes.
Not that they got bigger, but they're active and they've shown enhancement. Like I said, if there's not a drug that can make me better than I am now, stop the pain. Okay, this shit hurts. So, you know, give us a little bit. But I'm happy that I'm able, and that in this world, in this climate, at this time, I'm blessed and fortunate enough to be able to get a second opinion. And that's all I ask.
Yeah.
You know, just a second opinion. Tell me I'm full of shit. I'm totally wrong, but at least that's a second opinion. Just so you know, we're not medical doctors. We don't know anything but except the years of battling this disease that we've been, you know, battling. But hopefully our knowledge will take you to that extra place that will open a light for you or shed some light on any dark cloud or daunting time that you're going through, because it's quite a show. It's quite a journey for all of us.
Absolutely. I just want to say that if you want to continue this conversation, anyone that's listened to this, or you want to ask questions, either like put them down in the comments below or hit up one of us on Instagram. Diana, what is your Instagram?
I am My Tiny Spotted Mind on Instagram, and also I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel too, My Tiny Spotted Mind. Please feel free to DM me any questions that you might have. It could be about your own journey or somebody else that you know going through something. I am all ears. I'm here to clarify anything that is in my power to clarify. And, you know, that's our work. That's what we do. We are warriors.
And if you want to message me at multiple sclerosis fashionista, or at Spilling Roxy on Instagram, or just hit me up below, because you probably might be listening to us on my page or on Diana's page. Just pop over, because we do follow each other, and we would love to talk to you further, because you know you can only fit so much into an episode, and I don't want to overwhelm you with information, so we can always have one-to-one chats.
A lot of info, guys. I'm so gracious. Thank you, Roxy, again for spilling some good tea. I've been wanting to talk about medicine forever with you, and finally we have the space and the time to get together and talk. And thank you for staying up late.
Always for you. And thank you for having me. And I appreciate you, and I appreciate this time with you. And we will do this again soon.
Yes, love. Lots of love. Thank you, guys.
Bye. Bye.